Pokemon Ultimate Adventures by Mikazuki. How humiliating, White Kaiser growled, shaking his head and standing back up. I've gotten soft to let myself fall like that to such a light blow. A light blow? Is he serious? He got slammed by a boulder, gasped Brock. What is it with all these people these days? All these humans taking the full brunt of Pokemon attacks and not even trying to at least pretend it hurts? Who needs to pretend? White Kaiser spoke bitterly. Pitiful children with your meager pets cannot even begin to compare with a Kaiser Knight. Scyther! Slash! Tracy yelled, as Scyther bolted to White Kaiser from behind and swung his right talon downward. The sound of metal clashing rang through the air after White Kaiser turned around and lifted his scimitar above his head, completely blocking the attack. White Kaiser struck with his left elbow, smashing Scyther in the stomach and sending him flying back. Ah! Scyther! Tracy yelled, running to his injured Pokemon. Attacking me from behind! Like I would fall for something like that. Maybe, but can you dodge bullets? Misty said, with her arms crossed. Attack now! Ice bullets! She shouted, pointing at White Kaiser. Staryu and Starmie each fired bubble attacks, and Politoed had frozen them in midair with Blizzard. By combining the two attacks, they had changed fast-flying bubbles into rock-hard projectiles, and even White Kaiser didn't have the chance to dodge. One after the other, White Kaiser was being pelted with thousands of solid ice bullets. Even this was too much for him to dodge and deflect, so he had no choice but to defend himself, firmly planting his feet into the ground and shielding himself with his arms in the X position. While he was so focused on blocking the ice bullets in front, Geodude lunged from the side and smashed his stone fist into the side of his face, knocking him off balance. Onyx's tail slammed him from behind, and as he fell forward, the scimitar flew out of his grasp. White Kaiser growled. He was down on his knees. Ice Pillar! Ash and Misty shouted. All their water Pokemon fired water attacks, while Politoed froze it in a solid pillar, flying at White Kaiser. Ah! The team gasped. Just as the ice pillar was about to hit him, White Kaiser had smashed it to pieces with his bare fist. Impossible! I have had enough of this fight, White Kaiser said bitterly, standing up and wiping the dirt from his face. I was being merciful when I gave you the choice to turn back, but now it is too late. You heathens are beyond redemption. He clenched his fists. Ha! Suddenly, he darted forward, right past any of the Pokemon that stood ready for battle, right for Ash. Ash's eyes opened wide. His mouth hung open when White Kaiser had slammed his fist square into his stomach. Ash immediately collapsed to his knees, trembling and clutching his stomach. The pain he felt from White Kaiser's punch, it was so strong. White Kaiser didn't waste time watching Ash suffer and went for Misty's Pokemon. He leapt off the ground and sailed through the air. His foot smashed straight into Starmie's jewel, shattering it. Quickly, he turned around, breaking Staryu's jewel with his fist. Ha! He spun around and slammed his foot across Politoed's face, sending it flying and crashing into the rock. Ah! Misty gasped. This man, he had attacked them for no reason, and now he'd gone as far as to attack Ash and injure her Pokemon. What, you? She screamed, reaching for another Pokeball. Ah! Misty screamed when White Kaiser spun around and slammed her with his fist, throwing her through the air and hitting the ground. She lay on the ground, her eyes closed, and writhed in pain. Misty! Ash exclaimed, immediately standing back on his feet, his pain completely forgotten as anger surged through him. Kaiser! He roared, charging towards White Kaiser, clenching his right armored fist. White Kaiser screamed, his head flung back as Ash's armored fist smashed into his face with such force that his body was sent flying through the air and crashed into the ground. Ash stood there, panting heavily, sweat pouring from the side of his face. He growled and took a fighting stance as White Kaiser was getting up. White Kaiser slowly rose to his feet, but stumbled. He was panting heavily. His mouth hung open as he was gasping for air. He clenched his teeth as he turned to Ash.
That strength! How could a child hit so hard?
His eyes narrowed on his opponent. His feet shifted as he took a fighting stance. This boy wasn't normal. He had to treat him like a serious enemy. Suddenly, White Kaiser darted forward, running past any Pokemon that stood in his way. He wasn't going to waste time fighting anyone other than the boy. Ash shouted, lunging forward and swinging his right arm towards White Kaiser. But the warrior caught it in his hand. Ash's eyes opened wide as he saw a smirk cross the warrior's lips. He reacted immediately, pulling his arm out of the Quicksilver, just as White Kaiser twisted it a full 180 degrees. If Ash hadn't pulled his arm out just then, it would have been broken. Despite having saved his arm, White Kaiser swung the board and slammed it across Ash's face, causing him to spin and fall to the ground. Ash growled, clutching the side of his face.
You are quite talented as a fighter, but you lack the strength to face me.
White Kaiser smirked, holding the Quicksilver in his arms. Clutching the board, he felt even he wouldn't be able to break it. But the clips... He snapped them off and threw them to the side. Now it was impossible for Ash to use it as a weapon. Ash sprang to his feet and jumped back, putting some distance between him and the warrior, while his hands reached for his Pokeball belt. But White Kaiser's eyes didn't miss the movements, and he wasn't about to let Ash call out any more Pokemon. Ash gasped, his shoulders hunched over, and body fell forward when White Kaiser tackled him in the gut, knocking him to the ground. Ash struggled to get up, but White Kaiser stepped down hard on his chest. Ash! Pikachu, Brock, Tracy, and even Ebbie ran towards White Kaiser. Ash screamed out loud when White Kaiser pressed his foot down harder on his chest, and his friends immediately stopped.
I'm sure you'll know what happens should you take another step.
White Kaiser smiled evilly. Ash was at his mercy. He could kill him any time he wanted to. He laughed as he saw Pikachu growling, his cheeks sparking, yet unable to do anything. All the people around him, all their Pokemon as well, even if he wasn't holding Ash hostage like that, they wouldn't be able to do anything to him.
Hey, Kaiser!
A deep voice called from behind. Unwittingly, White Kaiser turned his head. White Kaiser screamed. He was thrown right off his feet, and his body literally went flying through the air and crashed into the large rock. Everyone gasped when they saw who had attacked White Kaiser. There he stood, with spiky blonde hair, a massive figure, the gigantic super fiend, G.I. Jolt.